This is The Lady of the House of Love by Angela Carter from the Bloody Chamber. The Lady of the House of Love. At last the revenants became so troublesome that peasants abandoned the village, and it fell solely into the possession of subtle and vindictive inhabitants, who manifest their presences by shadows that fall almost imperceptibly awry, too many shadows even at midday, shadows that have no source in anything visible, by the sound, sometimes, of sobbing in a derelict bedroom where a cracked mirror suspended from a wall does not reflect a presence, by a sense of unease that will afflict the traveller unwise enough to pause to drink from the fountain in the square that still gushes spring water from a faucet stuck in a stone lion's mouth. A cat prowls in a weedy garden. He grins and spits, arches his back, bounces away from an intangible on 4 fear-stiffened legs. Now all shun the village below the chateau, in which the beautiful somnambulist helplessly perpetuates her ancestral crimes. Wearing an antique bridal gown, the beautiful queen of the vampires sits all alone in her dark, high house, under the eyes of the portraits of her demented and atrocious ancestors, each one of whom, through her, projects a baleful posthumous existence. She counts out the tarot cards, ceaselessly construing a constellation of possibilities, as if the random fall of the cards on the red plush tablecloth before her could precipitate her from her chill, shuttered room into a country of perpetual summer, and obliterate the perennial sadness of a girl who is both death and the maiden. Her voice is filled with distant sonorities, like reverberations in a cave. Now you are at the place of annihilation, now you are at the place of annihilation. And she is herself a cave full of echoes. She is a system of repetitions. She is a closed circuit. Can a bird sing only the song it knows, or can it learn a new song? She draws her long, sharp fingernail across the bars of the cage in which her pet lark sings, striking a plangent twang like that of the plucked heartstrings of a woman of metal. Her hair falls down like tears. The castle is mostly given over to ghostly occupants, but she herself has her own suite of drawing-room and bedroom. Closely barred shutters and heavy velvet curtains keep out every leak of natural light. There is a round table on a single leg, covered with a red plush cloth, on which she lays out her inevitable tarot. This room is never more than faintly illuminated by a heavily shaded lamp on the mantelpiece, and the dark red-figured wallpaper is obscurely, distressingly patterned by the rain that drives in through the neglected roof and leaves behind it random areas of staining, ominous marks, like those left on the sheets by dead lovers. Depredations of rot and fungus everywhere. The unlit chandelier is so heavy with dust the individual prisms no longer show any shapes. Industrious spiders have woven canopies in the corners of this ornate and rotting place, have trapped the porcelain vases on the mantelpiece in soft grey nets. But the mistress of all this disintegration notices nothing. She sits in a chair covered in moth-ravaged burgundy velvet, at the low round table, and distributes the cards. Sometimes the lark sings, but more often remains a sullen mound of drab feathers. Sometimes the Countess will wake it for a brief cadenza by strumming the bars of its cage. She likes to hear it announce how it cannot escape. She rises when the sun sets and goes immediately to her table, where she plays her game of patience until she grows hungry, until she becomes ravenous. She is so beautiful, she is unnatural. Her beauty is an abnormality, a deformity, for none of her features exhibit any of those touching imperfections that reconcile us to the imperfection of the human condition. Her beauty is a symptom of her disorder, of her soullessness. The white hands of the tenebrous Belle deal the hand of destiny. Her fingernails are longer than those of the mandarins of ancient China, and each is pared to a fine point. These and teeth as fine and white as spikes of spun sugar are the visible signs of the destiny she wistfully attempts to evade via the arcana. Her claws and teeth have been sharpened on centuries of corpses. She is the last bud of the poison tree that sprang from the loins of Vlad the Impaler, who picnicked on corpses in the forests of Transylvania. The walls of her bedroom are hung with black satin embroidered with tears of pearl. At the room's four corners are funerary urns and bowls which emit slumbrous, pungent fumes of incense. In their centre is an elaborate catafalque in ebony, surrounded by long candles in enormous silver candlesticks. In a white lace negligee, stained a little with blood, the Countess climbs up on her catafalque at dawn each morning and lies down in an open coffin. A Chignoned priest of the Orthodox faith staked out her wicked father at a Carpathian crossroad before her milk teeth grew. Just as they staked him out, the fatal count cried, "Nosferatu is dead, long live Nosferatu!" Now she possesses all the haunted forests and mysterious habitations of his vast domain. She is the hereditary commandant of the army of shadows who camp in the village below her chateau, who penetrate the woods in the form of owls, bats, and foxes, who make the milk curdle and the butter refuse to come, who ride the horses all night on a wild hunt, so they are sacks of skin and bone in the morning, who milk the cows dry and especially torment pubescent girls with fainting fits, disorders of the blood, diseases of the imagination. But the Countess herself is indifferent to her own weird authority, as if she were dreaming it. In her dream she would like to be human, but she does not know if that is possible. The tarot always shows the same configuration. Always she turns up la papesse, la mort, la tour abolie, wisdom, death, dissolution. On moonless nights, her keeper lets her out into the garden. This garden, an exceedingly sombre place, bears a strong resemblance to a burial ground, and all the roses her dead mother planted have grown up into a huge spiked wall that incarcerates her in her castle of inheritance. When the back door opens, the Countess will sniff the air and howl. She drops now on all fours. Crouching, quivering, she catches the scent of her prey, delicious crunch of the fragile bones of rabbits and small furry things she pursues with fleet, four-footed speed. She will creep home whimpering with blood smeared on her cheeks. She pours water from the ewer in her bedroom into the bowl. She washes her face with the wincing, fastidious gestures of a cat. The voracious margin of Huntress's nights in the gloomy garden, crouch and pounce, surrounds her habitual tormented somnambulism, her life or imitation of life. The eyes of this nocturnal creature enlarge and glow. All claws and teeth she strikes, she gorges, but nothing can console her for the ghastliness of her condition, nothing. She resorts to the magic comfort of the tarot pack, and shuffles the cards, lays them out, reads them, gathers them up with a sigh, shuffles them again, constantly constructing hypotheses about a future which is irreversible. An old mute looks after her to make sure she never sees the sun, that all day she stays in her coffin to keep mirrors and all reflective surfaces away from her, in short, to perform all the functions of the servants of vampires. Everything about this beautiful and ghastly lady is as it should be. Queen of night, queen of terror, except her horrible reluctance for the role.